strikes.
All right, damn, bro. Going straight for the juggler, I see. I mean, that's a good question. That's a good question. I ain't gonna lie. It is tough. And this is why the German chancellor pretty much said that we're being embarrassed on the world stage by Iran of all countries. But this is why people was trying to tell Trump, don't get into war with Iran. This is why other presidents said no to war with Iran. It's not because Trump just had the balls to do it. It's just that he was the one dumb enough to get fooled into it. Like, that's it. It's not about having balls. It's about being a sucker, sadly.
At one level, the simplest way to understand America's problem in the Iran war is to use game theory. Donald Trump decided to play a game of chicken with Iran. Think of two drivers racing straight at each other. In these situations, if the stakes for one side are existential and for the other much lower, the side with those bigger stakes usually prevails. For the Iranian regime, if they lose, there's a good chance they end up toppled and slaughtered. For Trump, it would be a bad weekend at Mar-a-Lago. It's easy to see why the Iranians would be more willing to lock their steering wheel in that game of chicken.
Yeah.
But there's a broader reason why.
I mean, yeah, you're right. There's two different results coming. It's like if they lose, and we're talking about the leadership here, y'all are getting killed. Like, yes, y'all are going to get publicly hung and all that wild stuff. But if, Trump walks away or just walks away with a bad deal, well, he just faces ridicule. Nobody's going to sit there and act for this man to get hung in the streets. And trust me, I wouldn't support it. But yeah, there's a difference. It's like these guys are fighting for their life. They're fighting for their sovereignty. Trump, he's just fighting for political points at this point.
America has found it so difficult to handle Iran.
Because you can't say he's fighting for America, because, we're suffering from this. The American people are suffering from this war, because he ain't fighting for us, Lord knows. Maybe for Israel, but not us. Or, well, at least Israeli intention or interest.
It's not just about Trump and this latest ill-conceived war. Ever since the Islamic regime took power in Iran, America has been of two minds about it. On the one hand, the U.S. has had certain issues it wanted resolved, from the return of the hostages to nuclear limits. On the other hand, it wants to topple the regime, not just negotiate with it. There is a tension in these two attitudes that has run through American foreign policy for almost half a century. Does Washington want to change certain policies of Iran, or does it want to change Iran? If Washington negotiates with Tehran, inevitably there is give and take. There are concessions on both sides. There is some relaxation of hostilities. Above all, in engaging with it, the United States government is conferring a certain degree of legitimacy on the Islamic Republic, treating it as a serious negotiating partner, accepting that it represents Iran on the world stage. But that acceptance sits uneasily with some American elites who feel that the Islamic Republic is illegitimate.
Whoops, misspoke there. But they are part of the UN. Like, just want to let you know. They are considered a sovereign nation. Like, they are part of the United Nations, by the way, guys. Have representatives and all. They're part of the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, which means they do have the right to enrich uranium. So, there is that.
Not exist, and Washington's only policy toward it should be to overthrow it. And yet there are things Washington wants that only Iran can deliver. That is why even Ronald Reagan found himself secretly negotiating with the Iranian mullahs while publicly denouncing them.
True.
We can see the tension almost daily in Donald Trump's policy.
Because, Iran is just a whole different ball game. Like I said, they're literally the most formidable country in the Middle East outside of Israel. Period, point blank. Population size, military force, all that good stuff. They're the most formidable one. That's why when the neocons were trying to push George Bush into Tehran as well, he said, hell no, because that's a whole different beast on their own. And the guys we just beat, the Iraqis, bro, we try to support them into beating Iran and they lost. They couldn't even get past the damn mountains. What makes you think we're going to do anything? And look at us now, bro. We don't have the IRGC out of power. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. These guys are gaining global recognition as a world power for some reason. This war is honestly supporting Iran. Helping Iran out than us. Bro, They're gaining like PowerPoints here. They're gaining global recognition as a superpower because they can control the Strait of Hormuz and hold the global economy by the balls. This is a problem of our own make, well, of Trump's own making. And he's not really solving it too well. But I mean, I hope he can just walk away from this. It's gonna suck for him. You know, the neocons are gonna call him a coward, and then the the Dems are gonna call him Taco Trump, and he's just gonna have to eat that one and just focus on economic progress if he can still do something about that, if he doesn't get cooked in the midterms.
Toward Iran.
There's still hope for the man. It's just that very slim hope.
Post threatens to destroy Iranian civilization and bring an end to 47 years of evil. Another one that same day speaks of the progress being made in negotiations with Iran.
You know what's hilarious? That whole "I will end, a whole civilization will end tonight." It's kind of funny how y'all sat there and still said that, oh, he wants to help the Iranian people. This is for the Iranian people. I mean, I'm sorry, but does that tweet line up with, that whole, this is for the people? Because he did say, I wanted to end the civilization, which means, the entirety of the civilization, which includes the people. Maybe y'all forgot about that part.
Another one that same day speaks of the progress being made in negotiations with Iran. Trump enters negotiations and seems optimistic about a deal with Iran, and in between rounds starts a war with Tehran and urges Iranians to overthrow their government. Less than a week later, he's back to promising that if they agree to his demands, Iran will have a very bright future. America had a similarly contradictory attitude toward the Soviet Union. After the communists...
I'm gonna be real with you, like... If we had just walked in there and guys, look, if you're telling me, Set, how would you avoid all this? I'm gonna be real with you. You're not gonna like what I gotta say, but I just walked in there and be like, look, bro, we're gonna do a stricter version of the JCPOA. We want you at exactly 3.6%. We need more inspectors. We're actually gonna have U.S. inspectors this time, but we're gonna release a shitload of assets for you. Like, look, bro, how much assets we got frozen, we're just going to give it to you. But you're going to give us everything we want out of this deal. You're going to make it look like we're the authoritarian figure in this deal, but you're just going to get billions of dollars. How's that? Can we walk away and be cool? Fantastic. But we're still going to call you a bunch of crazy mullahs. But, we got to go along with the Muslim haters in our country, or they won't be happy.
Took control of Russia in 1917. Washington broke relations with it and even tried in some small ways to overthrow it. It took Franklin Delano Roosevelt about 15 years later to recognize its existence and exchange ambassadors with Moscow.
Yep.
The tension reemerged after World War II. In the 1970s, Henry Kissinger's policy of negotiation with the Soviet Union was pilloried on the right.
Like, BLK is not about stopping terrorists. It's about assuring that, look, remember, the whole reason we're in this is about their nuclear enrichment. I could give a damn about their missiles that can't reach us. I could give a damn about their proxies. That's only a threat to Israel. It's all about America here. And if it's all about America, the only thing I care about is your enrichment, since they're so-called a nuclear threat. And I want to nip that in the butt. Okay, cool. Let me nip that in the butt. I'm be honest with you. If I want to go ahead and solve terrorism, then y'all really not going to like my plan for that, because I'm giving the Palestinians a 1 or 2 state solution. That's going to end Hamas. And then I'm going to force Israel to stop trying to take over Lebanon, and that takes care of Hezbollah. That's how you stop terrorism. Not by trying to kill everybody, but actually listen to what their plight is. Listen to what they want to be done. And you don't give them everything you want. You kind of meet them in the middle. But if you don't address them at all, you just think that killing them is going to solve anything, well, you're just going to create more terrorists. And I mean, you don't really care about terrorism. You just want somebody to kill.
Because it was seen as bolstering the standing of an evil empire. Kissinger's response was always that America stood in ideological opposition to the Soviet Union, but that it also had certain national interests, like the control of nuclear weapons, which could not be handled without agreements with Moscow. Kissinger's equivalent in the Iran debate was Barack Obama.
Whoa, gold. Like, I love you, dog, but how did we? Well, we already won. No, we didn't. Like, how did we win? Tell me, bro, how did we win when the strait's still closed, when the regime is still in power? Missiles and drones out, like they have thousands of them, bro. Thousands. What did we win? Like, I'm sorry, what did we gain from this? Did we gain any new land like we did? Did we gain oil like we did with Venezuela? Bro, we lost credibility in the market. We lost billions of dollars. We lost soldiers. That's why people are saying we lost, because there's nothing we gained.
Obama's was the one administration to make a choice. It determined that while America might prefer another regime in Iran, it had to deal with this one to tackle the greatest danger to America's national interest, which, as with the Soviet case, involved nuclear weapons. The Iran nuclear deal was an effort to take the one most dangerous element of Iran's foreign policy and neutralize it.
And guys, look, it's like this. Think about the concept of winning. Usually when you win, you gain something, right? Like it be a trophy, medal, etc. I mean, UFC, you win the fight, you get a good record, you gain something. What have we gained? And that's what you got to mark this off of. Tell me, what have we gained from this war? Because I can't name it, and I know you can't either. I mean, you could sit there and say, oh, we're hurting China and Russia, but we're not. Like, bro, China just put out their their manufacturing numbers, and they're doing better than ever. AKA, they're still getting their oil. I mean, Russia, they went from selling oil from $40 a barrel to $90 a barrel. Like, bro, what are we doing? What have we gained? Where have we won? What enemy have we hurt?
It succeeded at that. But for many on the right, the price was that it, in some sense, legitimized the regime. So Trump pulled the US out of the deal, which then led to the discrediting of then Iranian President Hassan Rouhani and the return of the hardliners in Tehran, who ramped up Iran's enrichment program, which has brought Donald Trump.
Yeah, like I pretty much told you guys, when Donald Trump removed the U.S. out of the JCPOA and he invoked the sanctions back on Iran, which was the whole reason why they even agreed to it in the first place, because they want their money back. Look, when he got outside of that, they see no reason to even deal with us like that anymore. They see no reason to keep at that 3.6%. They see no reason to keep their stockpile low, because it seems like America's taking aggressive action towards them. Because not only did we put back on the sanctions causing economic struggle, but we also made their military group a terrorist group, which means now we can use intelligence and military force against them. And then we also killed their general, a very beloved general in their nation. We don't like him. I don't like him. But guess what? They liked him. And that was seen as an act of aggression. And once we took that guy out, guess what they did next year? They enriched to 60% enrichment. So all of you guys that are pissing themselves over that, guess what? We had that figured out under Obama. And if we didn't take all those acts of aggressions under Trump, we wouldn't be here today. And that's just the sad reality of it. Think about it. Even Tulsi Gabbard told Trump, look, man, you need to put your pride to the side. You need to get back under that JCPOA, because it is going to lead us to war with Iran if you don't get back inside of it. So, and that's just the reality of the situation. I don't like Obama. I'm not no Obama cheerleader here, but I got to give it to the man. I got to give flowers. I got to give people where credit is due. Give them their flowers. That was a pretty damn good deal to keep us out of war with Iran, to keep our eyes on Iran, to have our hand on their nuclear capabilities. But for some reason, Donald Trump just said F that with no better idea.
Right back to the same dilemma. Does he make a deal or take a stand? At this point, it's clear that Trump wants a deal. But in making it, he might end up giving
Jacob, like I said, obviously you don't know anything. So let me inform you again. And like I said, I appreciate your retarded comments, because it helped add to the show. So he says, why do you need a stricter JCPOA if Iran is following the JCPOA just fine? Because you want to know why? Because you guys were crying about the first one, so I got to make a stricter one. Because you say, well, we didn't have our inspectors on there, but we had inspectors on there, but it just wasn't ours. Okay, if that's what y'all want to cry about, then let's put ours in there. And then here's the thing. They were following it just fine. The IAEA said they were following it just fine. They went outside the JCPOA when we went outside of it. We broke the deal first. But then we expected them to follow it. How crazy is that?
Islamic Republic, what it has been seeking for 47 years. Unqualified acceptance, even from the most hardline elements of the United States. For Tehran, that is a prize worth many concessions. For more on what's next, I'm joined by a top analyst who has studied the Islamic Republic for most of his career. Danny Sintrinovich served as the head of Iran's branch of Israel's the Iran branch of Israel's military intelligence. He is now a senior researcher at the Tel Aviv-based Institute for National Security Studies. Always great to have you on, Danny. Let me ask you, at this point, you've just heard, I'm sure, that the Iranians have said they have responded to the American proposal. Do you think that response is going to move this forward? I mean, who's the person really who has to move here, Iran or the United States?
Thank you for inviting me. Definitely is the U.S. The ball is in the U.S. court because of the fact there is no much room in the Iranian eyes for compromises. Now, they are demanding lifting of the naval blockade. They want to negotiate first and foremost the condition to end the war, and only then to negotiate on the nuclear issue. And it goes straight to your column, saying that the U.S. administration need to decide whether he wants to topple this regime, and then you have to return back to war, a serious war, lengthy war, or you want to compromise.
I mean, that's true. I mean, hey, he's being real. He's pretty much saying, like, look, if you want to topple the regime, you're going to have to go into a lengthy war with the IRGC. Like, this is a 1 million-man army, and that's just the IRGC. We're not even talking about the Bajid group, which is a bunch of young Iranians with guns. And I'm not sure how much their numbers are, but those numbers are the 1 million-man army that we're talking about, which is the IRGC is, I mean, look, that's them. We don't even know how much the Bajid got, but we know they're a problem. We got women in Iran and burqas with AK-47s talking about come at us, bro. Like, yeah, that's not a good idea to put boots on the ground in Iran. Like I said, I mean, I already showed you 13 million people that for sure is going to pick up a gun
with the regime, but then he has to show compromises in a way that he has to accept some of the Iranian demands. So I think it's all could tend back.
He's like, here's the problem. Iran during peace times will never give their civilian guns. But during a wartime, they'll fuck around and do so, especially if we're talking about putting boots on the ground. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to employ, well, I'm going to be real with you. It's kind of like our strategy. It's like the reason why nobody will ever invade America is because we all got guns. I mean, bro, before you meet the military, you're going to be meeting an American with a gun. If you really dare, if you somehow made it to our shores. So this is one of the main reasons why nobody will ever attack America. So it's kind of the reason why people don't ever really want to put boots on the ground in Iran, because they know the regime will give out guns to the supporters.
White House to the president, and what he will decide eventually will tell us whether we are going to escalation or some sort of a compromise and agreement.
Do you think that we are now witnessing the Iranians really flex their muscles on the weapon that they have, which is the Strait of Hormuz? I noticed yesterday they put out an announcement saying countries that are enforcing sanctions against Iran, those ships might not be allowed to get through.
Now, here's the thing, and I know I'm going to address that argument. He said pretty much all we've been doing with the JCPOA is buying time before they get nukes. No, not really, because before the JCPOA, remember, there was a religious fatwa, a religious law saying it's a sin against God to make a nuke enacted by the Ayatollah. AKA, if you know how these guys are ran truly, bro, if that means anybody who tried to make a nuke was going to get executed by the IRGC, because the IRGC is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, AKA they work for the Ayatollah. They work for the supreme leader, the religious leader. So when that man lays down a religious law, I would hope that you would take that seriously, but nobody wants to take that seriously. So it is what it is. But let's go into the fact that in 2021, when they were outside of the JCPOA, they still didn't go towards a nuke, and they was outside of it. And they have 60%. And they could have finished it within a year while we were distracted with Russia, but they didn't. So Iran's consistently shown that they do not want a nuclear weapon, but for some reason we keep saying that they do, when they showed us consistently that they don't, and they've had plenty of opportunity to do so.
The Strait of Hormuz, even if there is a deal. So in other words, they are trying to use this new weapon they have to actually reverse the sanctions that have been in place for decades.
Definitely, you're absolutely right. The Iranian
nuclear, no, they have enrichment labs. Iran has no nuclear weapon program, none at all. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of wild how y'all falling for the weapons of mass destruction lie again, but it is what it is. It's like I said, it's like the Iraq war propaganda just redone. Like actually, it's the same thing, word for word, bar for bar, but yet people are buying it. It's kind of insane. It's like, does this not have any, like, I don't know, similarities to the propaganda of the Iraq war? Do y'all not see it? Is it just me? Nah, it can't be just me.
It wants to utilize Hormuz Straits for two main reasons. One is to get compensation for the attack, so they're going to charge every tanker that crosses the straits. This is one. And second, of course, they want to utilize that in order to create cracks within the sanction regime that U.S. imposed on them. And this is something they're not going to change. Unfortunately, we have to remember one other thing. The situation in Hormuz Straits is very unstable. So even if President Trump will decide not to decide, meaning is not going to compromise or return back to war, eventually friction will lead to escalation. Because I think that from the Iranian standpoint, they won't accept the status quo. And in terms of when they come to the junction between capitalization or escalation, they will always choose escalation. The blockade, even if it will be effective, it won't lead to Iranian surrender.
Nah, hey, yo, guess, dude. Now, that's always going to be a point that the right is never going to address. So hold on. Y'all crying about potential nukes that Iran could go towards, but we got Israel over here with like 90 to 120 of them illegally, and y'all have nothing to say? Okay. I mean, all right. No, I mean, it shows that you're not consistent, but all right then. But that's an ally, Set. Yeah, an ally? You sure about that? You want to ask the soldiers on the U.S. Liberty? Like, you want to ask them that? The USS, you want to ask them if they're allies? You want to ask the Marine barracks? You want to ask those guys if they're allies, since Israel knew that the barracks were going to be bombed and they didn't tell us? They knew about 9/11. They didn't tell us? You sure those are the people you want to call allies?
So let's talk about what the shape of a deal could look like. I want to first ask you, it does seem like the American side, from what we're hearing, has completely dropped the issue of the ballistic missiles that Iran has, the support for Hezbollah and Hamas. Those were the big criticisms of the Obama nuclear deal, that it didn't include those issues. And my understanding is the Trump administration is not even proposing to discuss those either.
No.
I will say that bluntly. There are not going to be any agreement with the Iranians if President Trump will insist on limitation on missiles and on proxy aid by the Iranians.
Yep, because basically you want to limit their missiles. You're pretty much saying that they can't defend themselves. And if you want to take out their proxies, you're saying that, well, we can't fund causes that, well, they believe in. And yes, they believe in the causes of the proxies. I mean, I explained the cause of the proxies earlier before, and you can agree or disagree. I mean, that's up to you. But this is their cause. And if you don't, I mean, there's only two options. It's either you help them out with the cause or you just kill them all. So you don't even have to address it. And killing them all just seems to create more terrorists. So it seems like you might just want to address the problem.
It's not going to happen. For the Iranians, those are the pillars of the regime itself. And it's a basic...
Yo, and shout out to my man, Guest Dude. He says, Israel is the only nation besides North Korea with illegal nukes. Until Israel gives up their nukes, why should anyone listen to U.S. on nukes? Yeah, that's pretty... Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good statement right there. And here's the thing. I mean, JFK tried to be fair with it, and look what happened to him.
The security doctrine, and they're not going to forgo that. So if President Trump wants an agreement, again, any agreement probably be a problematic one, but looking at the other options that he has, maybe that's the best option. But any agreement will be focused on two main things only. One is the control of the straits, and second, the right to Iran to enrich. Everything that is connected to missiles or proxies, the Iranians will willing to negotiate. Same thing as the JCPOA, and then we'll ask ourselves, what is...
Yeah, and that's the problem. The only thing Iran is willing to negotiate right now is one, opening up the strait and releasing the blockade, and then sure, we can get to their nukes, or not nukes, but their nuclear and their enrichment, their uranium, their enriched uranium. We can get to that. But the problem is, though, that they're not willing to get to that until we solve what's going on in the strait and release the blockade. But the problem is that, well, we want to get to their nuclear enrichment before the blockade is released, and that's just not going to happen. They're not going to give up their missiles. They're not going to give up their proxies, but they will give up their enrichment if, we go along, if we actually just de-escalate. They will. But for some reason, we don't want that. Well, I don't know. Maybe the Trump doesn't want, or the Israelis don't want, or whatever generals we're dealing with. But it's pretty obvious on how we can end this war and make sure everybody get what they want.
Cargo ship off the coast of Qatar erupting. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, a cargo ship off the coast of Qatar erupting in flames after a drone strike, putting the fragile ceasefire to the test. This as Iran has reportedly responded.
Oh, and shout out Guest Dude coming in again. He says 2 words, Samson Doctrine. And if you don't know what that is, that's pretty much Iran's little emergency I would say, emergency nuclear switch to where they're just going to start attacking countries with nukes if they're ever in an existential crisis, aka is looking like the end of Israel. It's looking like, bro, Israel's not going to be a state no more. If we lose this, it's that bad. We need to nuke these countries. And that's the Samson option. And if we don't help them, then the Samson option also tells them to nuke us as well. So that's the problem with the Samson option. And also the problem with letting countries have illegal nukes that they stole from us, by the way, but they're our greatest ally. So I guess y'all don't care, huh?
Responded to the latest U.S. peace proposal. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst has more from Tel Aviv. Hello, Trey.
Mike, good afternoon. Iran has responded to the U.S. proposal. According to state media, the key issue of the country's nuclear program was not discussed, according to outlets that said the Iranian delegation gave that response to the Pakistanis. Now, this does come after another attack occurred this morning against a cargo ship off the coast of Qatar. An unknown projectile hit the vessel 23 nautical miles northeast of Doha, according to the UK Maritime Agency. The explosion did cause a small fire, but it is under control, according to reports. That incident highlights the latest in a series of events in the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz that show Iran is testing the fragile ceasefire.
From our perspective, a naval blockade is considered a military act. A military act receives a military response. Let them understand this. From now on, they should assign several additional escorts to their destroyers so that if one of them starts sinking, they can at least rescue and evacuate their naval forces.
While the region waits to see how Iran will respond in what capacity to that U.S. proposal to end the war, President Trump shared a series of AI images overnight depicting Iran's navy at the bottom of the sea. President Trump was asked over the weekend about the expected Iranian response, saying this.
Do you think they're rolling it? Do you think they're...
And guys, this is the problem why everybody like to bring up, Israel's nuclear missile program, because of this little tragedy. Well, I wouldn't really say tragedy, but a situation right here. So here it is. It's the 1973 Yom Kippur War. And yes, according to various historical accounts and declassified documents, Israel prepared, and according to some analysts, prepared to utilize nuclear weapons during the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Facing potential defeat in the early war, Israel officials authorized a nuclear alert, ordering 13 atomic bombs to be prepared for aircrafts and missiles, a move considered a last resort. And yes, the Samson option, faced with an unexpected rapid breakthrough by Egyptian and Syrian forces, Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan suggests preparing nuclear weapons, a strategy known as the Samson option. So do you understand the problem with letting a country just have nukes whenever they want, like Israel? Yeah, that's the problem. And then they're allowed to claim strategic ambiguity is wild.
Constantly slow rolling process.
We'll find out soon enough.
We're also tracking developments out of Gaza, where Hamas has already passed a deadline where they were supposed to lay down their arms. An advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Ben.
Yeah, here's a problem with that, though. Like, Hamas can't lay down their arms while they're being attacked by Israeli-backed militia force in Gaza. Yes, Israeli-backed militia force in Gaza is still attacking Hamas, while Israel is still bombing places in Gaza. But these guys are opposed to disarm. It's like, no, you guys don't want them to disarm. You want to keep them armed so this peace deal falls through. And that's just the strategy of the Israelis when it comes to Gaza. Oh, and shout out to my man Guest Dude. He says we have about 3,400 intercepted missiles left. Iran has upwards of 8,000 drones left. We lost. Iran can, stature. Well, damn. Hold on. They can saturate and overwhelm our defenses now. I mean, that's the reason why Operation Freedom failed, because they knew that. It's like all they got to do is just start firing like crazy, fire 100 missiles at a U.S. vessel, and one of them, maybe 2, 3, 4 are going to hit. That's the problem. We can, and that's great. We can block 90, but the one that hits is going to cause extensive damage.
Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on the issue to Fox News earlier today.
Our estimation is there are many, many tens of thousands of AK-47s still in Gaza. And AK-47 is not light weapons. Those are the weapons of choice for how you murder a population. That's what murdered our population. That's what keeps their population under thumb. And so we'll need to verify all of this.
The bottom line here, Iranian proxies remain active, and the Iranian regime is still attacking Gulf countries. Both the UAE and Kuwait earlier today reported Iranian drones over their skies. Mike?
Trey Inks live in Tel Aviv. Trey, many thanks. Joining us now, Lisa Daftari, editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start with some sound from U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, and I will get you to react to it.
That's up to President Trump as commander-in-chief to determine what constitutes a violation, when to go back to military action, or when to continue to give diplomacy a chance. And when the mediators, in this case Pakistan, ask us, head of state to head of state, to give this negotiation another chance before we go back to bombing Iran, then I think that's completely an appropriate choice for President Trump to make.
Lisa, what's your read on where we are in this process?
Look, when I hear the regime, the rhetoric that's coming out of them right now, we know that they're very much cornered. What they've done is they're holding Hormuz hostage. They have moved the arena of war to Hormuz, and now they want concessions. But what they have to understand is that Donald Trump knows that this is extortion. It's not diplomacy. What they're hoping for is to play.
You're right. You're right. It is extortion. But the problem is we gave them this card when we attacked them. They would never be in control of the Strait of Hormuz. We'd never have to make these concessions if we never attacked them and popped off this war. That's the problem. It's like us starting this war and gave Iran leverage.
The clock. We're up against the World Cup. We're up against midterms. We're up against the domestic population here not being in favor of another long war. So what they're hoping is that they're going to get what they got in previous administrations, which is a weak deal that gives them cash. It takes the pressure off economically and, of course, militarily. Peace through strength, yes, but not at any price, not at the price of a bad deal. And Donald Trump knows that.
The regime is still talking tough, saying negotiations.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. It looking like Trump might be having to force into basically a deal similar to the JCPOA or something worse, to where Iran actually has power over the strait. And Lord knows we don't want that. So here's the thing. Getting into this war is probably the easy thing. But getting out of it, making I would say in a good light, making it to where, it looked like America won, is going to be the most difficult thing that Donald Trump is going to do for the rest of this year. It's going to be so hard to spin this as a win. It's going to be so hard to spin a deal that makes America look powerful.
Do not mean surrender.
Oh, and shout out to my man Gabe the Shepherd. He says, just for Epstein files, Jesus Christ is king. And hey, shout out. Hey, man, I can always get down with that one. Appreciate the support, my man. Oh, guys, make sure you guys double tap that screen and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that icon above for shorts, clips, and more lives.
And talking about defending national interests and the rights of the Iranian people, is that the kind of tough talk you expect from them?
Absolutely. And we have to remember something. For them, they just have to hold on. They just have to endure. Any survival is victory to them. And that's why you're hearing the narrative that you're hearing. They are masterful at narrative warfare, whether it's at home in Iran, whether it's in the region, or it's here on our soil where they have launched narrative wars for decades.
I mean, here's the thing. Both sides engage in narrative warfare. You just kind of meet both sides in the middle, or just see what's happening on the battlefield and you'll be able to see. And you always got to look at all news publications from the left, right, domestic media, international media. You got to look at it all to actually get a clear picture of what's going on.
And all of our institutions with our politicians in our universities, et cetera. So yes, this is exactly what we know that they're up against. But at the same time, inflation north of 180% in Iran. You're seeing 80% of their exports have been curtailed, 500 million loss every day. Their oil exports halted. So we know that they're up against a very vulnerable situation. But what do? More of this chest thumping, hoping that Donald Trump will be the first to blink. This is the opportune moment for the United States to employ the strategy that we have in the first Trump administration and now, and that's maximum pressure economically, militarily. They know that finger is on the trigger. We can go back to kinetic warfare at any moment, and they should know that. And lastly, we should start introducing maximum support for the Iranian people. This is
Here we go. And like I said, guys, honestly, we could be setting ourselves into a trap, because there really is no knowing of how many people truly are against the regime. But the problem is, and here's the thing: all the polls, you can add up all the numbers together, you're probably going to get about 500,000 Iranians. And 500,000 out of 80% of them voted that they don't like their government. 20% voted we love them. The problem with that is, that doesn't give us a true number of their support for the regime. That just gives us one poll that we like the sound of. And here's the thing: I know what you're not gonna like the sound of is the fact that, like I said, in the election, I think that shows us where the Iranian people's heads at are more than just these these outsourced polls. Their election, just like our election, kind of tells us where the American people stand, or in where their votes and who they voted for tells where they stand politically. And from my breakdown, the fact that 13 million people voted for somebody who's overly IRGC, who's overly what they like to call a principalist, so a guy who's pretty much, is interchangeably known as an Iranian conservative and formerly referred to as the right wing, the right or the right wing, and are one of the two main political camps in post-revolutionary Iran. So you gotta understand, these are the guys that don't want no relationships with the US. They don't see any type of relationship with us. These are the real Islamic, extremists. These are the real ones. And there's 13 million of them confirmed. 13 million that actually went out there and vote. I'm sorry, but you guys are literally going off a poll of 500,000 people, but I know 13 million people right now in Iran that want to fight for the regime because of their vote. Shoot, you might even got the other 16 million people that voted reformist that's willing to fight because they're still participating in an election controlled by the regime. So I'm sorry, but to sit there and still push this propaganda that, we just need the Iranian people to stand up against who and how much do we got? Because these people got over 30 million people that voted for them that most likely will be willing to fight. Who do we got? How many numbers? Is it enough? They'll never tell you.
Time to have a forward-facing strategy that brings the Iranian people into the last stanza of this so that they can help us collapse this regime.
Lisa, I want to show you and our audience a headline from the Wall Street Journal. It says Iran's supreme leader is MIA just when negotiators need him most. Mojtaba Khamenei hasn't appeared publicly since U.S. Iranian officials say he was severely injured in an airstrike over 2 months ago.
Yeah, these are the facts, though. It even comes from Russian media as well, because I think they're over there trying to get him a prosthetic leg out of Russia, and Russia says he's not with us. He's over there in Iran, still holding leadership, but they say his lips burned, face disfigured, leg gone, but he's still able to talk and carry out commands. He still has his mental faculties. I'm not sure how much mental faculties you can have going after such a traumatic situation where you get bombed, you're disfigured, your dad, your mom, and your daughter died all in one boom, all in one blow. So I'm not sure how much mental faculty he could possibly have, but let's see.
Do they need his sign-off if he is physically capable in order to get an agreement?
No, they don't. This is what people need to understand. This is a system. The regime is a system. It does not revolve around one person like Venezuela did. Yep. So his existence or non-existence is, again, more of that narrative warfare, more of that playing out the clock, wasting time, passing the baton, pretending good cop, bad cop. We have moderates within the regime. We have hardliners within the regime. They are all hardliners, and they all are working under the same ideology, an ideology that has helped them stay in power for 47 years, and they're hoping that ideology will help them continue. And that ideology is what has suffocated the Iranian people, that killed 30 to 50,000 of them in January.
Oh my God. Bro, it's so annoying hearing this weak-ass propaganda because it's so easy to debunk. Guys, now, and before you guys get mad at me and say, oh, well, you're just going to ignore it, you're going to say 30,000 people didn't die in Iran? Yes, that's exactly what the fuck I'm saying. 30,000 people were not killed in Iran. What we got is about 3,100, all right? And let me tell you why I don't believe 30,000. Because here's the thing. Same people that's pushing this 30,000 was pretty much trying to say that, the numbers coming out of the Gaza ministry, the health numbers of how many people are dead were a lie. But then they came around and said it was the truth. And here's the thing. They said it was a lie with names, birth dates, medical records, all that proven. The genocide that was going on with Christians in Nigeria for the last 14 years. Names, birthdays, whatever they use for Social Security, all documented. Now, this Iranian protests where allegedly 30,000 or 45,000 were killed. The number goes up every week, guys. There's only 3,100. It's only like 3,100 names, 3,100 birth dates, 3,100 of whatever they use as Social Security. That's it. That's all. There is no 30,000. We don't have 30,000 names, and we don't got 30,000 bodies. And you can sit there and show me, oh, look at the bodies on camera. How can you deny it? Bro, nigga, I'm not denying that it didn't kill nobody. I said that they took out 3,000. But even if you show me the video, I'm not even counting 3,000 body bags. And I don't even want to sit there and count body bags. But guess what? You can show me all the videos you want. You're not going to get the 30,000. And guess what? You can sit there and spread all the propaganda you want. You can't prove that they killed 30,000. No names, no nothing. We're just going off the trust me, bro, because what? We want to paint a bad image of the regime so we can make people feel like they need to support this war? Like, that's it. That's all. There is no credible evidence that they did this.
That has continued to pour money into deadly proxies around the world, being the #1 state sponsor of terror. So the ideology has to stop. We are at
now. That's fair. Now that's a fair assessment right there. Like, but I don't believe either side. Then yes, because you feel like one's underplaying it. I also feel like the Iranians are underplaying it, but the Americans are overplaying it. I mean, actually, they can't even get a number right. You remember when this first was out? It was like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 45,000, 100,000. It's like they couldn't even decide on a number. It sounds like they was just like throwing around a number and seeing what people believed. And it sounded like people was believing around that 30, 40,000. So they was like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with that. People will believe that, even though, you know, it took Israel like 2 years to get to 70,000. I mean, even in World War II, it took a couple weeks to get to like 30,000. But all of a sudden, we could believe that the Iranians could do it in 2 days with no type of airstrikes. Okay, bro. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That ideology, not with one individual. And we have to understand this going forward. We have to treat this like we did the Cold War. We need to rid the world of this ideology.
Lisa Duftar.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? I mean, you know, because when people say this, and here's the craziest part, when they say this, I'm all about removing Islamic extremism. I'm all about removing all types of religious extremism, all of them across the board. It be Islamic, Christian, Jewish. All of the extremism got to go. But when people say this, they usually mean like remove Islam as a whole. And I'm just like, yeah, that's not the way to go. Not the way to go there. Move all extremists across the board for sure. For sure. But if you want to crack down on Islamist extremism, dog, I'm with you. But if you want to try to out here get rid of all Muslims and paint them as all terrorists, I'm not with you.
All right, thank you for your analysis today, and a happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you to all the moms. Thank you so much.
Happy Mother's Day.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all.
May not agree with her, but I hope she has a wonderful Mother's Day. I mean, hey, what you mean? I can't. I can only disagree with people outside of politics. It's hard for me to actually hate people. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the next video here. Now we're going to go ahead and get into a interview with Robert Pape and PBD. And the reason I brought this up is because, bro, PBD was not trying to hear what this man was trying to say. He was being respectful. He did interrupt a lot, but he was being respectful. And the reason why PBD interrupted a lot is because Robert Pape was laying out the reality of the Iran war, and PBD just couldn't take it because he wants to hear that, oh, we can do regime change. The Iranian people can be free. He wants to hear that, oh, yeah, we're completely winning this war. But let's be real. You're only going to hear that from the pro-Israeli guys, and he's tired of listening to them, and he's trying to get a different opinion. So that's why I respect PBD, because he will listen to both sides, even if one side completely just bums him out. But shout out for him for holding the debate. Well, not even really the debate, but the interview. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and go into a quick little interlude, quick little 4 minutes. Please enjoy this video. Well, actually, I'm going to play 2 videos. You guys. This was Iran when they got struck.
Noah! Larry, what the hell are you doing?
Larry!
Larry, you can't just... Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you all right? How did...
Larry!
I don't know why that's just so funny to me. But all right.
Hey, President Trump, how are those mass deportations going?
They said, you got to lighten up on this. We have a lot of heart for people. They came in illegally, but they're good people and they're working now on farms.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
Oh. Well, surely no new wars in the Middle East.